Today, I want to talk about finding your niche. How do you do that? How do you discover what that is? And what are the processes to even beginning to figure that out? So, I've been thinking about this, just a little backstory of myself. I've been in the film world for about over a decade now, probably 11, 12 years. And I've always worked for someone else. I've never really done it on my own as a freelancer or any of that stuff. I've done side gigs here and there, but for the most part, it was always, employed, W-2, employed by someone else, doing work for them. Which has its perks, which has, its benefits, like health insurance and, just kind of rocking up and doing what you need to do. It's easy. I'm able to learn on the job and get paid while I'm learning it. And so I think that was a great starting point for me early on. I worked for a church, like a lot of my colleagues that I know have done. And that is a really good training environment. You kind of get thrown into the deep end. You learn a lot quick. All that to say, I find myself now. I'm a parent. I'm married. I've got a little girl, and the corporate 9 to 5 esque job is becoming difficult. You work hard and you do good work, but you're capped at whatever your salary is. And so, I've been trying to rack my brain for probably a couple years now, trying to figure out how do I find the thing? How do I move out of the 9 to 5 and into this business freelance world where, I work for my money. If I work hard, I can make a lot of money. If I don't work hard, then that's on me as well. But yeah, so I've been thinking about niche. You hear everyone talking about you got to find your niche. What's your niche? Simplify it. Come down. Like be specific about what you want to do and what you do it for and who you do it for and all of that. And I always was like, yeah, but I just do video. I just do like that's what I know. That's what my W-2 jobs have always been like, hey, here's a video, make it work. Sometimes it's a testimonial, sometimes it's a graphic that they need, motion to, or sometimes it's a promotional video. It was whatever. Sometimes it was even an opener to a conference or something like that, or a music video or whatever. And so it was always like, yeah, but I do all these things. Like, what do you mean pick one? And I was listening to a guy named Jamie Brindle. He has been doing this thing for, gosh, he's been in the freelance world for decades at this point, or a decade at least. And he's been releasing videos on the freelance world. And he's recently come out with this sort of like educational videos on what it is. If you want to follow him, it's great. It's Jamie Brindle. I'll link it below. But I was always stuck on this. What is that? How do I find that? How do I find the thing? And he was even talking about being specific. Like, but then he said something that broke it down for me and helped me understand a little bit more of how to find my niche, so to speak. It was like, what's something that you do that you already know really well? So for me, all throughout my career, I've always done testimonials. Always. I was like, yeah, but like, how do I turn that into a business? How does it help anyone? And it clicked. For me, you always hear story is king. You always hear that, like, how do you connect? The real connection is through personal relationship. Well, that's what testimonials are. This is a personal conversation between, an individual and the interviewer or whoever they're with about what they went through, about why they're choosing to do X thing, or why they've decided to go with Y product or whatever. looking that key phrase that Jamie talked about in one of his videos was, what do you know really well? We think that niches are a chokehold on our creativity. Well, I don't want to be known as the testimonial guy, the video, story or brand story person. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to make features, or whatever. I don't want to be the cafe designer, for menus or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you don't have to be, but you need to get your foot in the door. Being a jack of all trades right now is not helping you in the current. It will help you in the future. I love that saying, a jack of all trades, master of none, but always better than a master of one. And I think that helps down the line. But right now, we need to be specific to get our foot in the door and to get people to start to trust us. And then as we begin to develop those services and begin to develop that relationship with those clients or those businesses or whatever, that's when we can begin to leverage some of those other aspects of what we can do, and we can present offers. But right now, the biggest switch for me was finding that niche and knowing why I need a niche, and it's specifically to get my foot in the door. I'm not sitting here saying that I've got it covered, but what I've discovered and what I'm excited about, and hopefully what I'm saying is resonating with you, to begin to unpack some of this stuff, is like, start at ground zero and dream of what it could be, but like, where can I get my foot in the door? Maybe you are a graphic designer and you do menus. Great. Menus change all the time. Menus are seasonal, menus or whatever. Like, get your foot in the door there. But yeah, I want to do like branding and great. You will get there. You will be able to do those things, but you gotta start at from somewhere, and starting to pivot that thing and look at that as a service and going, this is the service I provide. Let me get my foot in the door, but then taking those extra steps to being a partner with that restaurant or with that cafe or whatever it is that you're partnering with or working for, and going, I love doing these menus, but like, hey, you've got these other seasonal things coming up. Like, how can I work with you to help make that a better reality? How could, have you changed anything on your website? I think I could be a huge asset there to help get more eyes on your website and bring more people in and make everything look more cohesive or whatever. But it's always thinking about, like, I want to position myself eventually in a place where the service I provide is way better and way more ROI, return on investment, than their initial upfront cost with me. So if I charge $1,000, I want to make sure they're making at least $2,000 back. How do I do that? It's by being a strategic partner. It's by going, hey, I know this will sell, and I know that this can convert. Can I work with you on helping figure that out? Yeah, I know that was a lot of kind of rambling or whatever, but I hope that resonates. And I'm excited because I think I figured it out. I think I've started to narrow it down, or I know I have. And it was simple, but I think it can be simple for you too. I think it can be simple to figure those things out. So let me know. Like, I want to help if I can. And I want to share videos along my journey of figuring out, how I can be a greater service in this lane that I'm in, where it's video testimonials. Because I know that story and connection matter. I know that's how I develop friendships. That's how I, if a friend says that this thing worked for them and they're excited about it and they're pumped about it, yeah, I'm probably going to go out and buy it, or I'm probably going to go out and watch that movie, or I'm probably going to go out and do, like, that's what drives an individual, a person. And I can sell that. I know I can do a good job on that. So yeah, anyway, I hope that helps. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for what this could mean. I'm excited for the freedom personally that it can bring me, and that I hope that it brings you. It's work, so let's work on it together. Let's figure this thing out, because I am overworking the 9 to 5. I am over trying to find why I agree with something that I don't agree with, if that makes sense. I want to take back control, take back the freedom that we all should have. So, love yous. I hope you find this helpful. I hope you figure out what it is, and if you do, please let me know. Let me know what your lane is, or ask me questions of how can we if you need a thought partner, let's chat it out. Let's figure out how to narrow down these things. So anyway, I believe in you. You freaking got this, for real, and it's exciting. I'm excited for your future. Anyway, latest. Until next time.